Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Anna Rosenberg, and today we'll be discussing public speaking confidence with our guest, Judith Shahn. Judith helps anyone who speaks in front of people find their authentic voice and fully communicate their passion to an audience, whether big or small. The good news to us is that with her 10 essentials of public speaking, anyone can learn or improve their ability to fully express themselves. Precisely to talk about confidence and full expression, I'd like to welcome Judith to the show.
Thank you.
Let's start the conversation with the kind of people you help.
Sure. Well, I tend to work with smaller groups, small group companies. I work with lawyers. I work with data professionals. I work with financial people. And then I also work with a lot of individuals. So really anyone who has communication needs, which in my view is just about everyone. So it could be public speaking, presentation training. It could be someone who just wants more confidence at meetings or in interviews, that kind of thing.
So talking about confidence, what is confidence to you and for you?
That's a great question. I would say that confidence is commitment without apology. So it's my willingness to fully express what I have to say and make sure that it lands on the people I'm talking to. I think that's a huge thing. You can't just spout something and not see, did the other people receive it? I would say confidence really equals flow. There's nothing interrupting your ideas, your feelings from coming through what you're speaking.
What a beautiful definition. Confidence is flow. Great. What do you see as the biggest misconceptions when building public speaking confidence?
Yes, I think that a lot of people have this idea that you're born shy or you're born introverted and therefore you can't overcome your fears. Or just the idea that you have fears and they can't be overcome. Part of the joy of the work I do with people is I witness change all the time. So I know that change can happen because I've seen it over the decades, that if you practice, that you can actually do something about your fears. You can replace your fears with a more important mission, which is you have something to say that's really important.
That's crucial.
Because
yes. It's not only like trying to run away from the fear, but it's more useful to replace it with something more powerful.
Exactly. I have one thought here, which is my teacher told me this. She said, in order for change to happen, the desire for the thing you want has to be greater than that which inhibits you. And I really live by that. That really means a lot to me, is that if your desire is stronger than your fear, you can actually change that.
And it is so true. Now, I've never thought about that way, but it is so true. It's also true around us in nature.
Yes.
Some people believe that some lucky ones are born to speak publicly and others aren't. Can you speak to that?
Yes, and it's true that some people have more of a feel for this, that they get up and they're just naturals at it. And that's great. Then they don't need as much help from me. They might just need a little brushing up here and there. But for those who are really coming without the knowledge, there are skills, very practical skills that you can learn that take you step by step of how to give a speech or how to make a presentation so that you're fully present and you're really moving your audience in some way. Because after all, if you're getting up to speak, it's because you want to do something to the people who are in the room. Otherwise, they could just read what you have to say, right? So the act of standing up and speaking in the present moment is already a very courageous thing. So I take people through their courage so that they can find a way to express what they want to say.
I can see how you're so successful, because it's not that people need to be naturally born with a natural talent. It's like there are steps.
That's right.
And building that courage on the steps of like learning to be competent is great hope for all of us.
That's right. And that's why I have, the 10 essentials of public speaking. It's just a form to say, all right, let's check in through these 10 different aspects. And a lot of them are very basic things. They have to do with how you stand, your alignment, right? If your body is balanced, then you can breathe effectively. And if you can breathe effectively, then your voice can be effective. And if your voice can be effective, then your ideas can come through your voice. So there's a step-by-step process of getting you in the optimal mode to be the best speaker you can be.
What do you feel are the little-known pitfalls that we should avoid when building public speaking confidence?
Well, I think breathing is a huge part of it, because people take for granted that they're breathing. And of course, they're breathing enough to stay alive, to get through the day. But if you're speaking, even if it's not a big speech, let's say you're even in a meeting and there's some conflict going on, which any of us who have been in meetings know that conflict is bound to come up, to be able to relax your middle for a breath so that you can also receive what's being said, and it allows that flow I was talking about a moment earlier. So I think this idea of breathing is the essential thing for any kind of communication to be effective.
So true. In the moments when we need to breathe the most is when we stop. We're like,
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So I try to take people back to moments in their lives where they really were confident. I was working with a client the other day who said, she used to be a basketball captain. And when she was a basketball captain, her voice was loud and strong, and she could call to everyone on the team. And I said, okay, that's great, because somewhere in your body, you have that experience. So I love to know, what are the moments in people's lives when they feel confident? Sometimes it's hiking down a trail is what makes them feel confident. Or it might be playing a game with their children, or whatever it is. It's connecting with that element when they're feeling fully connected.
let's talk about possibility. What I mean is what's possible for all of us. Can you tell us about some of the ways you have been able to help your clients?
Sure. It really is part of my joy in doing this work is that each person is different and unique. So when they come to me, first of all, I want to know what their goals are. What's the priority? What are the things they really want to change most? And then I relate everything to that. But my job is to assess what I see is in the way of their communicating, and then to try and remove those blocks. So as I was talking about earlier, alignment, it might be that someone is standing in a way that really betrays their confidence, or their voice is only halfway there, so it's not penetrating through the space, and therefore it's not being heard. Or it might be that people are, rushing like mad. And rushing is one way of sort of disappearing. It's like saying, okay, never mind what I say. I'm just going to say it so fast that you won't really get it anyway. But getting people to slow down enough so that they can make sure that what they say literally lands on the people they're communicating to, that's a powerful thing.
I never thought about that. Like rushing is like it's a way of disappearing.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, another thing that people do to disappear is I call it the yo-yo. They start off strong at the beginning of the sentence and then it just disappears at the end. So it's sort of like saying, okay, I really mean this, but never mind, right? So I try and get them to follow through using their energy all the way through to that very final word, because sometimes that final word is really the key to everything you've been saying.
Interesting. What inspired and motivated you to do the work that you do?
Oh, that's a great question. I was in the theater, and, one would think that actors are automatically extroverted and they have everything solved and they love to get up in front of people, but that's not always the case. So for me, one of my struggles was my voice, is that my voice inside my head was not the voice that was actually being heard by other people. And when I began to work on my voice with my teacher, Kristen Linklater, who's a brilliant international theater voice teacher, when I found my own voice, I got very excited about the idea of helping other people find theirs. I thought, okay, if I can do this, then perhaps I can help other people. And I began to train as a speaking voice specialist. And that was my way in to all of the rest of this work. But I would say, too, just being in the theater, that I learned a lot about what performing truly is and being authentic really is about. And taking all those skills and bringing them to business professionals, it turns out they can really use these things. And that's been a wonderful thing to discover.
Can you share with us a personal lesson about confidence that you learned early on and that still has an impact on you, your life, your business?
Well, this is a way back story, but it does come to mind because I was just a little girl. I think I was 3 or 4. And I was extremely shy. I mean, I was one of those, I used to hide behind things and terribly shy little kid. So my mom took me to a Broadway production of Cinderella. And at one point, the prince invited the children in the audience to come up on stage and participate in the ballroom scene. And my mother said, go ahead. And I was like, no, I can't. And she said, go on. She walked me up there. And I got on the stage. And there was something about that moment of transformation for me, of looking at things from the stage point of view to say, oh, it's really not so bad up here. And it really sparked my imagination because I absolutely felt I had entered that ball and I was obeying everything the prince told us what to do. And it taught me, really early on that imagination is a very powerful tool. And you can imagine your way into the best outcome.
Beautiful. We have another tool to build confidence.
Yes.
And that one we are born with.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. That's right. Imagination we are born with. And, a lot of what I do with clients too has to do with imagining that, with fear, one way to overcome fear is imagining different circumstances. And it really works. Imagination is a very, very powerful tool.
I want to shift the conversation to something I heard you say once that I want your opinion on. You said that
Sure.
even in our present day, where women are leaders and business owners and CEOs and presidents of organizations, you still find that many women do not have the experience of taking up space in the same way that their male counterparts do. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. It's amazing how many women come to me, and some of them work in mostly male environments, but that's not always the case. But the idea is that they don't feel like they're bringing their entire selves into the room, even if they're in a leadership position. So I'll often work with women who are in middle management. So they've got the relationship of people that they're leading, but also their superiors. And they tend to be what I call off their voice. And what I mean by this is it's like their voice is half breath and half vibration, as I'm doing now. It's a way of sort of saying, I'm not fully here, right? If I come onto full vibration, I'm not shouting, I'm not being loud, I'm just being fully present. And so I will often do, I would say, mock meetings with women. I'll set up scenarios and say, okay, so I'm going to be the people in the meeting and you talk to me, and I give them the opportunity to practice being direct and being really authentic. So it's not like they're taking on their male counterparts, because they're not male, they're women. They have to be who they are. But for them to have the experience and the opportunity to really be fully who they are, that's what I'm trying to encourage.
Now I understand what you meant when you said that. And I can think of cases where I have experienced that, or maybe I have done that. It's true.
Yeah, I don't think there's a woman alive who hasn't experienced that, because we're still dealing with a world in which men are born into that understanding that they'll be confident, that they get to go first, that they get the pathway first. And I see it in all kinds of professions over and over again. So it's something still to be contended with. Perhaps women in the younger generation will have an easier time of it, but I work with younger women too, who still have not had that experience. So it really makes me happy to say, look, this is something I've struggled with as well, and it's something that you can get better at.
So here comes the difficult question. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
What is your number one tip to build public speaking confidence?
I would say that you have to zero in on your mission. What is it you want to do to your audience today? Do you want to, beyond inform them? Of course, we know we need to inform people. That's a given. But beyond that, do you want to inspire them? Do you want to ignite them? Do you want to get them to think? Do you want them to question? Do you want them to take action? There are all kinds of tactics that you can employ. We do it in real life all the time. These are things, let's say, Anna, you're my best friend, and I'm coming to you to borrow some money, right? I really need this money, and you're a good friend, and I come to you. Well, there's all kinds of ways I can ask you for that money. I could demand it from you. I could beg. I could manipulate. So we navigate these things in life all the time. But as a public speaker, you need to be really conscious of what it is you want to do to your audience, and then you need to keep shifting gears. So it's not all on one level. Because if you're speaking to people all on the same level the whole time, the listeners are sitting there going, oh yeah, I got this. Okay. You need to keep shifting the energy. You need to shift the conversation, and you need to shift your tactics about what you want from your audience.
That's a great tip. Having the clarity first. Where am I taking them? Emotionally,
Exactly.
not only from the information I'm delivering.
That's right.
Well, I'm going to ask you another quote unquote difficult question.
Okay.
Can you give us your best theater tip? You said that actors and actresses, we see them as super confident on stage or in movies. They might not be. So what is a tip? What is something that you learned during your theater time?
That's great. Yes. So I taught for 26 years at the University of Washington in the graduate program, the professional actor training program, and I've been coaching and working with actors for all those years and more, and I've been an actor myself. And the thing that actors have that other people don't is they know how to rehearse. So they're just as terrified as anybody else, I can assure you that. But because they know how to rehearse, that when it comes time for the audience to come in, their body has been through it so many times that they're able to say, okay, this is just one more time. So I really encourage people to practice aloud. A lot of people think, oh, they can just sort of get up and do a speech and wing it. Well, good luck with that, right? I really believe in preparation, and the idea of preparation is to give you confidence, is to say, okay, yeah, I know exactly how this is going to go, and then you can really be spontaneous in the moment. I think if you don't prepare, it's really hard to be spontaneous because then you're just pulling it out of the hat. But if you've rehearsed the sequence and you've rehearsed standing up in front of people, then your body doesn't freak out in that same way. And I think that's what actors really know how to do, so that when the audience gets there on opening night, they can just be in the present moment with those people and the story that's being told. And I'm just going to jump off that, the word story. Actors in the theater are always telling a story. And when you get up and you're presenting something, I don't care if it's about, I used to work with accountants. I don't care if it's about a financial rule or some technical thing with a computer, you're always telling a story. And lawyers know this very much. When they're getting up there, trial attorneys, and they're speaking for their witnesses or their clients, they have to tell a good story. And I think that's something that everyone can benefit from the theater.
That was also a very beautiful insight, that what separates us is from actors, if you wish, is that they know how to rehearse, right? Mm-hmm. So if we learn how to rehearse in the same way, we could be as compelling as they are in our field, right? In what we are trying to achieve.
Exactly.
Have you ever had someone said, I don't like my voice?
Oh my God, all the time. It happens so often. And, it's interesting. People come with such judgments about themselves. Sometimes people are their own worst critics, and it may have come from another source. It may have come from a parent who said, oh, you sound like this, or a teacher or a friend. And, we internalize those critical voices. It's also hard when people hear their voices recorded, because they have to understand that it's not going to sound the same to them as it does to people on the outside, right? Because they're inside of their own voice. But what I try to do is get people to breathe freely and then to find their natural vibrations. Some people say, oh, I speak too high or I speak too low. And it may be that they've gotten stuck in one register. And my job is to help them open up their range so that they can express themselves in any pitch register, depending on what it is they have to say, right? I mean, if you're excited, of course, your pitch is going to go up. And if you're feeling really confident and really stable, then your pitch might drop. So these are, again, very specific skills that people can acquire and then practice. And if you practice enough, you're going to get better.
That's a lot of hope and a lot of good news for a lot of us.
Yes.
So how can people find out more about your work?
Well, the best way I would say is to go to my website, which is www.vibrantspeaking.com. And everything I do is on that website, all the different training options, whether it's for corporations or large groups, small groups, or individuals. I do all that kind of training. And I also have a Facebook page, Vibrant Speaking, which is another way that people can get in touch. But the website is the best way. And you can get in touch with me by email or by phone through that website, and I'll answer any specific questions that people have. I do offer a free phone consultation for everybody because I think it's important that they get to hear my voice and I get to hear their voice to begin with. And we begin to have that conversation about, what are their goals, what are their challenges, and identifying those, and then see, how much time we want to spend.
And that's the perfect note to complete our interview today. Till next time, remember, your awesomeness is portable. You can take it with you anywhere.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.